station of St. Kitts and Nevis.
From the VON Newsline, this is the VON Major Newscast.
Good evening. I am Tashan Tyson, in with your VON Major News package for today, Monday, 29th April 2019. In our lead stories, nationally, a bill to provide for the period within which a question of no confidence must be addressed by the National Assembly to be tabled in Parliament, and drought conditions expected to continue here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Regionally, Antigua and Barbuda's PM preparing to put forward strategic approach for LIAT. Internationally, Parrot taken into custody after warning drug leaders about police raid. And in sports, SKNFA bans Glenroy Samuels, sanctions Connery FC following criminal arrest. We'll have the details of these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. A motion of no confidence bill 2019 is one of 8 bills on the order paper for a sitting of the National Assembly on Tuesday, 30th April 2019. The bill is to provide for the period within which a question of no confidence must be addressed by the National Assembly and for related matters. A motion of no confidence that was brought by the then opposition before the last general elections in 2015 was not allowed for tabling and debate by the then Labour administration. This was one of the major talking points in the run-up to the elections. The debate on the issue leading to the 2015 poll included suggestions for changes to be made to the existing legislation that did not prescribe a particular time period by which Parliament must entertain a motion of no confidence. While in opposition, the 3 parties, PAM, CCM, PLP, that now form the government, had committed to meaningful changes that would eliminate the ambiguous language of the legislation. Part 3 of the new legislation refers to the timeline for resolution of no confidence. It reads thus: where a question of no confidence in the government is brought before the National Assembly, in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and the National Assembly Elections Act, the question of no confidence shall be determined by resolution of the National Assembly within a period not exceeding 21 days. The drought situation in the Caribbean is expected to continue into the early wet season as weak El Niño conditions are forecast to persist. In its latest Caribbean Climate Outlooks Bulletin, the Barbados-based Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, CIMH, said that for the period May to July, recurrent dry spells are forecasted, except for the Windward Islands and Guianas. CIMH said that severe or worse drought has developed in Antigua, Aruba, Barbados, Central Belize, French Guiana, Northern Guyana, Martinique, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Eastern Trinidad on the short term, and in Southern Hispaniola on the long term. It said that the shorter term drought is evolving in Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, St. Vincent, and Trinidad and Tobago, while long-term drought is evolving in Antigua, West Central Belize, Cayman, Dominican Republic, Northeastern Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Windward Islands. In its bulletin, the CIMH said that the peak of the Caribbean heat season, which runs from May to October, usually occurs in August and September. It said drought relief in affected areas may take several months. A new $100,000 project funded by UNESCO that will help safeguard the St. Kitts and Nevis Intangible Cultural Heritage, ICH, was launched here in St. Kitts and Nevis today, Monday, 29 April 2019. The project will be implemented in 3 phases, namely training of trainers to understand the content of 2003 ICH Convention, community-based inventorying, a pilot inventorying exercise, and St. Kitts and Nevis awareness campaign. The training will enable St. Kitts and Nevis to have an official register of intangible cultural heritage, including ICH elements, while building human capacity to continue safeguarding practices within local communities. The SKN ICH database will be accessible to the public through different mediums, a database, website, and printed materials. Government, organizations, stakeholders, and the public will be sensitized about ICH, the importance of protecting it, and methods of safeguarding it through the public awareness advertising campaigns. The Bureau of the Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage approved at its meeting on 2nd October 2018 the international assistance request submitted by St. Kitts and Nevis to implement the project, strengthening inventory preparation capacity for implementing the 2003 Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage in St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts ratified the convention in 2016. In police news, authorities are investigating a shooting incident that occurred in Stony Grove area, here in Nevis, which resulted in the murder of 1 man. Based on a report from the police, they responded to a report of an incident at about 9:30 p.m. on Friday night, April 26th. Thus far, investigations have revealed that 20-year-old Donald Cornelius of Stony Grove was found lying face down in an unresponsive state with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to his body. District Medical Officer Dr. Shandy Jacobs, who was summoned to the scene, pronounced Cornelius dead. The crime scene technician processed the scene and took items of evidential value into police custody. Investigations into the matter are ongoing. This latest homicide comes approximately 94 days after Nevis recorded its first homicide for 2019. 28-year-old Jelani Library was shot on January 1st, 2019, and died from gunshot wounds he sustained on Tuesday, January 22nd. This also brings the murder toll for the Federation to 9 so far for 2019. Still in police news. Lawmen are investigating a traffic accident that occurred in College Street, Gut, Bastyr on Saturday, April 27th. As a consequence, 1 pedestrian was injured and the driver was wounded. The accident occurred at approximately 9:15 p.m. and involved motorcar P3532, which was owned and driven by Denzel Miller of Buckley's. Ezekiel France of Upper Monkey Hill and Dorsal Smith of Shadwell Housing were in the Gut at the time. Reports say that P3532 was traveling from south to north along College Street Gut, and as he entered in the vicinity of Upper College Street, he struck Smith. France then attacked the driver and wounded him with a broken bottle to his face and chest. France sustained injuries to his hand as a result of the wounding. He was subsequently arrested on suspicion of wounding with intent after he was treated and discharged from the hospital. Smith sustained injuries to her head, back, and shoulder. Investigations into the matter are ongoing. In more national news.
Your Excellency, Honorable Premier, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I declare this building, the Theodore L. Hobson QC Court Building.
The Deputy Governor General of Nevis, Her Honor Mrs. Hailita Liburd. The Deputy Governor General made the declaration during a ceremony held on Sunday, April 28th, to officially name the High Court building in Charlestown. Featured speaker, Mr. Charles Wilkin QC, in his address called on Mr. Hobson to continue to speak out for the rule of law.
Use the even greater influence you will get from this honor to promote a political culture which ensures that the building which now bears your name is recognized in perpetuity as the bastion of justice and the rule of law. And get someone to record your description of Nevis as it was when you were a boy, when in early adulthood you were an outstanding cricketer, and when you returned as a lawyer. You are in an excellent position to record the huge strides made by the island of Nevis in your lifetime, many of which the younger among us do not know and too many take for granted.
Mr. Theodore Hobson QC also addressed the gathering, which included the Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis, His Excellency Sir Tapley Seaton, fellow colleagues in the legal profession, family and members, and well-wishers.
I feel moved, and I am thankful to Almighty God to have allowed me to have lived and served at this particular time of history. Whatever service I may have rendered to the profession and the administration of justice, it is out of a feeling of devotion to my country, and that I will continue to offer. As I prepare to exit the practice I have loved and enjoy, I feel certain that the rule of law is safely grounded in our nation, and this court building would continue to be a beacon to those who seek justice.
Sir Theodore Hobson QC. Mr. Hobson is Nevis's most senior lawyer and has been a part of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association for over 5 decades. He was admitted to the Bar of St. Christopher and Nevis on November 12, 1963. Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, will host his monthly press conference on Wednesday, May 1st at 10:30 a.m. It will be held at the Cabinet Room on the second floor of the Social Security Building at Penny's Estate. At the forum, Premier Brantley will provide an update on matters of national interest. Additionally, members of the press will be afforded the opportunity to ask questions. The press conference will be broadcast live here on Vaughan Radio. The Medical University of the Americas, MUA, and the Nevis Island Administration, NIA, announces its call for scholarships from May 13th to June 28, 2019 for the period 2019 to 2020. Based on a release from the government, 2 MUA NIA scholarships will be awarded towards the pursuit of undergraduate studies, which lead to a degree at an accredited higher learning institution. Preference will be given to qualifying schools within the Caribbean region, including the University of the West Indies and the University of Technology. Applicants interested in pursuing medicine at the Medical University of the Americas are also eligible for this scholarship. The scholarships will be awarded to begin studies during the period August 2019 to February 2020. For further information on the application process, please contact the Ministry of Health at 469-5521. And finally, 2 persons from the Forensics Department recently underwent an extensive open case file development training course. The course was made possible by the United Nations Office for Peace, Disarmament and Development in Latin America and the Caribbean, UNDIREC. The facilitators from the course were Jason B. Francis, Senior Policy Advisor, UNWILEC, and Philip Boyce, Forensic Scientist, Firearm, GSR and Tool Mark Expert. Ballistics Examiner Damian Challenger and Forensics Laboratory Manager Ciaran Phillip were the participants in the course, which ran from April 1st to the 11th and was held at the Forensics Lab in Tabernacle, St. Kitts. Mr. Phillips said that the major aim of the training was to lay the foundation for the creation of a digital and physical database of open firearms cases. The training was done in 3 phases: documentation and test firing the firearms in the armory, introduction to comparison, microscopy and microscopy training, and documentation for open case file development. Director of the Forensics Department, Latoya Lake Marshall, said that UNDIREC has been providing Caribbean member states with technical assistance to improve their capabilities for firearm control, and said that the training was well received by the department. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Vaughan Radio or our Vaughan Radio YouTube channel. for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this here's another one for the steppers.
Swipe to win big in 2019. That's right, the Bank of Nevis Limited is once again giving you, our valued customers, a chance to win big. Just swipe or use your Bond Visa credit card for US $100 for a chance to win a cruise for two, an iPhone XS, or a grocery dash at Best Buy supermarket.
Say what?
Sign up for a Bond Visa credit card and automatically be entered for a chance to win. This offer ends August 31st, 2019. So tell your friends and family to swipe to win big with the Bank of Nevis. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram.
Welcome back. Another regional news in detail. Following Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves' recent remarks that regional carrier Liat's closure is imminent, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown will be putting forward a strategic approach for discussion and subsequent approval at the Liat's shareholders and directors meeting in Barbados on Tuesday. Previously, Gonsalves noted that regional governments have not been responding to a call for new funding, so the shareholders are now reaching a critical point and there will be a transitional restructuring leading to a closure of Liat. On Thursday, Brown gave the assurance that his government will never allow Liat to go under, promising to make Antigua's contribution of $960,310 US. This amount represents part of Liat's previous request for emergency funding from regional governments totaling US $5.4 million. According to Caribbean News Now, PM Brown stated that all will be done to safeguard employment, adding that there is a need for stability and certainty. Antigua and Barbuda has a 13% shareholding in Liat's, in addition to its major economic interests of saving the jobs of hundreds of local workers. At Liat's shareholders and directors meeting in Barbados on Tuesday, Brown and his delegation will table a strategic approach on the way forward and his government pledge to resist any collapse of Liat and any move to recreate its replacement. Out of St. Lucia. The Department of Health and Wellness is continuing efforts to manage the increase in influenza cases on the island by sensitizing the public and private healthcare workers. Healthcare professionals around the island were granted the opportunity to strengthen their capacity on ways to effectively control the spread of influenza through a sensitization workshop. Medical Officer for Health, Dr. Sharon Belmar-George, said that the Department of Health and Wellness is dedicated to ensuring the proper management of influenza. According to St. Lucia News Online, the medical officer said one component of the strategy is to ensure that healthcare workers, both in the public and private sector, receive updated training on influenza and the new strains that are circulating. Dr. Belmar-George said it is important that St. Lucians take the necessary precautionary measures as to prevent the spread of influenza. Moreover, the Department of Health and Wellness urges citizens to take advantage of the free flu vaccine available at all wellness centers. Meantime, BVI's 2019 budget has been passed in the House of Assembly. The budget, which is legally titled the Appropriation Act 2019, has retroactively come into force on January 1st. The budget was passed with amendments at roughly 8:30 p.m. on April 26th, following a two-day debate in the House. And finally, a 33-year-old man wanted for a 2011 murder in the United States is now in the custody of law enforcement authorities thereafter being extradited from Guyana. Thomas had allegedly gunned down 20-year-old Keith Frank outside a house party in South Richmond Hill, Queens, New York, just before Christmas 2011. A new court date was set for June 13th. That's it for regional stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. A parrot has been seized by police after it tried to warn drug leaders of a raid in northern Brazil by shouting, "Mommy police." The green-feathered bird started squawking as soon as officers arrived at a house in the Villa Irmer neighborhood. As a result, the parrot was taken into custody, where he was photographed perched inside a chicken wire cage before being transferred to the zoo. A Brazilian journalist claimed the bird appeared to have invoked its right to remain silent, adding, "So far it hasn't made a sound." Police claimed the bird's owner, known as India, had been arrested twice for drug trafficking in the past. Her husband, identified only as Edvan, 13, was arrested after crack cocaine was found in the house during the raid. Drug traffickers have previously used birds to fly drugs into prisons in Costa Rica and Argentina. A man believed to be the leader of the Islamic State group has made a rear camera appearance vowing to seek revenge for its loss of territory. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has not been seen since 2014, when he proclaimed from Mosul the creation of a caliphate across parts of Syria and Iraq. It is not clear when the video was recorded. IS says it was shot in April. More in this BBC report.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is seen sitting talking to other IS leaders. With a Kalashnikov rifle posed by him, he's a little greyer than when he announced the IS self-declared caliphate from a mosque in the Iraqi city of Mosul in 2014. But he looks in good health, belying recurrent reports that he'd been badly wounded or possibly even killed in the long years since then that have seen IS driven out of all its territory in Iraq and Syria. It's unclear when or where the video was recorded, but the IS leader refers to the group's last stand in eastern Syria in Baghouz last month.
MasterCard and Visa have both agreed to cut their fees for tourists using their cards in the EU after a long-running battle with the European Commission. The credit card firms will now charge retailers around 40% less on non-EU credit and debit card payments. The European Commission said that the deal would lead to lower prices for European retailers to do business. Ultimately, the Commission said this should lead to lower prices for tourists to the European Union. The European Commission, which has waged a decades-long crackdown on payment and credit card fees, believes that so-called interchange fees, which the credit card firms charge businesses for accepting payments from consumers, result in higher prices. And finally, the U.S. aviation regulator has received calls from current and former Boeing employees about the safety of the company's new 737 MAX jetliner. The Boeing's chief executive, Dennis Muilenburg, said the company had a duty to eliminate the risk. The BBC's Theo Leggett reports.
Boeing is under intense pressure. Its new 737 MAX has been involved in 2 major accidents in 6 months, causing the deaths of 346 people. It's been grounded since mid-March. Speaking at the meeting, Mr. Muilenburg insisted that safety was the company's top priority and always would be. In a tense exchange with journalists afterwards, he stressed that both crashes were the result of a chain of events rather than any single factor, but insisted that new software being developed for the plane would prevent anything similar from ever happening again.
And that brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports next.
See you, John.
Betty, how come you never tell me what's going on up at TDC?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because TDC Automotive has some awesome deals. Get the car a new spare tire for just $100 plus VAT. And they have selected tires for 30% off. And for the Jeep, if you buy a selected Goodyear tire, you can get a second one for just $99.
Well, well.
And not finished yet. They're offering up to 30% off selected Valvoline oils and universal car mats and a whopping 50% off Energix batteries.
TDC Automotive not making no joke. I going up there now.
Welcome back. Another sports in detail. The St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association SKNFA has banned Conwy FC player Glenroy Samuel from all football-related activities pending the outcome of a criminal charge against him for attempted murder of Raheem Francis of Rams Village Superstars. Samuel was charged by police for attempted murder of Rams Village Superstars player Raheem Francis in a stabbing incident that occurred on Saturday, April 20th, after a Premier League match between Conwy and Village. Francis was admitted to the JNF General Hospital in critical condition and has been recovering. Further, over the course of the next few days, the SKNFA will engage its member clubs and other stakeholders regarding additional methods of dealing with acts of violence, disorderly conduct, and other negative behavior by players, team officials, and patrons. The SKNFA also expressed their gratitude to the medical staff at JNF Hospital who worked tirelessly in respect of that matter and also wished Raheem Francis a speedy recovery. As the Nevisian athletes returned from the 2019 Carifta Games held in the Cayman Islands, the Nevis Island administration took time out to salute the efforts of the athletes who participated and excelled at the event. A brief ceremony was held at the NEPAC courtyard last Thursday. Minister of Sports, Honorable Eric Evelyn, lauded these athletes on the significant achievement of a bronze medal achieved at the Games. He stated that his ministry and the NRA will continue to invest in sports and in the young people of the island. The athletes present were Alexander Keynes, Khalil Roberts, Akidento Willett, and Kimali Newton-Roberts. Leroy Chapman was the only one not present on the day. And finally, in IPL cricket, in a game that Sunrisers took command of from the moment of the irrepressible David Warner faced the first delivery, Kings 11 found themselves on the back foot trying to put out fires much of the time. In the end, Kings 11 themselves crashed and burned. Warner scored a sizzling 56 ball 81, his 8th successive half-century against Kings 11 in what is his last game of the IPL this year. Scores were Sunrisers Hyderabad 212 for 6, beat Kings 11 Punjab 167 for 8 by 45 runs. That's it for sports. The general weather forecast is next. Welcome back. And now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight will be fair to partly cloudy with a 20% or slight chance of showers. Winds are east at 19 to 30 kilometers per hour or 10 to 16 knots. Seas are 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:46 a.m. And that's our wrap up the major news package for today, Monday 29th April 2019. And before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, a bill to provide for the period within which a question of no confidence must be addressed by the National Assembly to be tabled in Parliament. And drought conditions expected to continue here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Regionally, Antigua and Barbuda's PM preparing to put forward strategic approach for Liat. Internationally, Parrot taken into custody after warning drug dealers about police raid. And in sports, SKNFA bans Glenroy Samuel, sanctions Conwy FC following criminal charge. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashan Tyson, wishing you a pleasant evening.